In 1997, Squaresoft released their take into the tactical RPG sphere, set in the world of Ivalice. It's a complex political tale where Ramza and his friend Delita attempt to find their place in the world after Delita's sister is murdered. There's backstabbings, twists, an evil church, of course there is. There's a complex battle system where you control a team of characters in a grid-based combat. There was multiple jobs, and it's considered one of the best games in the PS1. Now, I'd never played the original, only the PSP game War of the Lions in 2007, and I love this game so much. But we're not talking about this. Let's go back to 2003, where Square released a sequel, well, it's meant to be, on the GBA, called Final Fantasy Tactics Advance. I was only 16 at the time, and I bought it day one. I threw it into my Game Boy Advance and welcomed this beautiful intro. I love that intro so much. That opening tune is just mwah, real chef's kiss. If I could do a salt-based salt thing, I would. I always knew of Final Fantasy Tactics, but it never released in Europe, so Final Fantasy Tactics Advance would have to do. Literally, Final Fantasy Tactics was like the holy grail. Is it real? It's like something from Lord of the Rings. And if you're a fan of Final Fantasy Tactics Advance, please give a like and a comment with your memories of this game. It really helps us get on the algorithm. If you just want to hear more of me, Retro Wars is a podcast where each week me and a friend will talk about the video games we used to play back when we were kids. And you can find that wherever you get your podcasts from. And from this point on, I'll just go FFTA, it's just so much easier. In the eyes of many, it is considered to be the baby game compared to the original Tactics. I strongly disagree with that. Yes, there's no politics, but it still deals with different themes. Now, the characters in the game. You've got Marche, who recently moved to St. Ivalice after his parents divorced. Newt, who's a bit of a wimp, whose mother died and carries around a teddy bear she gave from him. Doned? Yeah, Doned, I don't know how you pronounce that. Marche's brother, who's in a wheelchair and feels isolated. Ritz, a girl who dyes her hair pink every day because it's white. Every day? Really? And then there's Sid, Newt's dad, who is just a drunk. And already there's pretty some dark themes. You've got divorce, death of a loved one, the impact of a disability, alcoholism. Tell me this is a baby's game? Really? Marche's name is, well, you can call him whatever you want. Now, I'm not going to go a deep dive into the plot because I feel other videos do that better, but I want to look at the gameplay. FFTA is a tactical RPG like Tactics. You control a team of 6 against another team. You take turns, move units, attack them to knock them out, basically. And when you have your turn, you can attack, use a skill, magic, item, or do nothing. Now, the most important thing is the direction. When you face a particular direction, it affects your accuracy of attacking or being attacked. Unlike Tactics, you can't turn the map around. That was one of the things it could do. But you shouldn't really need to, because the maps in FFTA are, well, they're quite good, and you don't really have that stage where units are hidden. Now, the cool thing is, unlike Tactics, is that within this world, humans aren't the only race. You've got the magically skilled Numu, Moogles are around, the lizard-like Bangers, and the rabbit-like Vieras. Now, hang on. Bangers, Vieras, Ivalice, Numus, where have we seen that before? Oh yeah, Final Fantasy XII and the aforementioned FF Tactics. But now it's time to get the lore out. Look, there was a series of games connected to Ivalice. The first age, as it's called, is classed as Final Fantasy XII, Revenant Wings, and Final Fantasy Tactics Advance A2. The second age of Ivalice is considered Vagrant Story, a game I've not played yet and I'm really looking forward to covering on the podcast. And the third age, well, that's Final Fantasy Tactics. And you're probably thinking, hang on, where the hell are all the other races? Well, by the third age, humans are the dominant race, because there was a calamity which set their technology back, and the other races have simply just died out. Now the thing is with FFTA, it's not part of that timeline, since then Ivalice is actually just a place in a separate world. It's a dream world. The best way to explain it, it's like Link's Awakening. That's probably the best way I can describe it. Now, as well as having 5 races, this means there's lots of potential jobs you can have. In fact, there are 36 you can choose from, with each race having their own classes they can access. This means that, well, you can have a really diverse team. So, for example, a white mage can be either a human, a Numu, or a Viera. A dragoon can only be a Banger. A summoner can only be a Viera. This allows for so much customization within your 6 units, let alone your clan. Yeah, you get a clan. And your clan is basically your little crew. So if you wanted to get one of everything, you can. My favourite classes are simple. It's the fighter, the ninja, and the gladiator. The one race I never used though throughout any of my playthroughs has been a Numu. I don't know why. Maybe I just don't like the design. I find them bleh. Now each class has their own weapons, armour, and skills they can access. Some classes excel in physical or magic damage. Some should never ever see the front line, like a summoner or an illusionist. Also, for anyone moaning, yes, all the sprites are roughly the same size. I know people are going to complain about that, because in reality, Bangers and Moogles have a huge size difference. Like in reality, a Banger's probably going to eat the Moogle. Like they probably do, let's be honest. Like Bangers are huge. Is it pronounced Banger? I'm going to go with that. Someone's going to go, no, it's not, yeah. I know, but I'm going to go with that. But they're so big, they probably eat Moogles for breakfast. Now, the real customization is in its abilities. Players gain abilities through AP after each battle. New abilities are gained from either new weapons or sometimes armor. And once you learn these abilities, they stay with the user rather than the class, so that's pretty cool. And some of these abilities are Broken, aka Dual Cast and Dual Blade. Oh my god, Dual Blades with counter. That's all I ever do, that's my experience. Take Dual Blade from the ninja, turn Marche into a fighter with counter, get him with the best equipment, run into battle, and win. You do, because anyone even farts at Marche's direction, he's hitting him twice. It's just hilarious. The other important reason to learn abilities is to give you access to different jobs. So for example, if you want to get a summoner, you need to have learned so many white mage jobs. If you want to learn a ninja, you need to learn a different classes jobs. But it lets you play with these different classes before you, well, dump them because you know the poo. But all in all, because the abilities stack with the player rather than with the class, you can have a bit of customization. So you can have a summoner that uses white magic. Later in the game, enemies do start doing the same, which is great, and they're using the mechanics against me, which I have no problem with. Now, let's get into the controversial thing of this game. I don't think it's controversial, apparently I like the idea. The judges. So, they are the overseers of battle, and you come into contact with them pretty early. They enforce the rules of engagement. You break the rules, you get a yellow card. If you kill someone breaking those rules, you get a red card and off to jail you go. So the judges are really just there to manage the fighting, that's all they do. Like, what about actual crimes? We gonna cover that? Yeah, obviously stealing's allowed, the thief just does it. A bit of stabbing, okay, yeah, shooting someone in the head, yeah, go ahead. Summoning monsters from the astral plane, why not? Like, even the judges will encourage that behaviour. But some of these actions could be, you can't use blades in battle, or you can't use magic in battle. Do that, and that's where the judge gets pretty annoyed. And at some point, the judges can move bodies around, which is quite creepy. But they do this to encourage the fighting. Ugh. Like, some of the rules are a bit annoying. They could have a rule which says don't kill monsters, and you're fighting monsters. You're like, crap. But it really encourages the party to think outside the box and use the range of different party members. Like, people don't like the judge system. I've never had a problem with it. I actually find it quite fun. I really do find it quite fun, because it makes every battle seem a bit fresh. Honestly, I have no problems with it. You can argue in the comments below. Fight me, bro. There's other games that do this, so if you want known rules, just play Tactics or play something else. But if you do kill somebody, you get a JP, which is a judge point. And you also get a judge point if you follow the rules. If the judge says use blades, well, you'll get a judge point, which is great. So you can use judge points in two certain ways. You can either use a combo attack, where you and anyone around you will just jump in and do huge damage. Or you could summon a Totema, but you need 10 judge points to do it. And straight away you're thinking, what the hell is a Totema? Well, they're big hulking monsters, and they represent each race. Now, they're gained through the story progression, and when summoned they attack either the opponent's MP or HP, and this is why it's important to have a mix of units. Because if you've just got 5 humans, well, you're just going to have the one Totema. But if you've got 5 different classes, well, then straight away you can use 5 different Totemas. As I said, it's not going to be a very good summary. It's really not. It's going to be quite poo, so I don't know. I'm just being honest with you. I'm just being honest. So Marche has arrived in this new place, and he's gone to the school for the first time. And he meets the timid Mute and Fightsy Fritz, and they're on the same team for this snowball fight. Like, it's actually a cool way to introduce you to the game. So there's no real stakes because you're just throwing snowballs around. Although the game ends because somebody throws a rock at Mute. They put a rock in a snowball and throw it at Mute's head and cause him to bleed. That is outrageous. That's criminal behaviour, but no one's stopping that. And because Marche was nice enough to support Mute, Mute says, oh, let's go and buy this book that I've been looking at. But he's like, nah, I've got to go to the hospital. But later on, they go to his house and Mute has this book. And at one point they go, oh, this is like the one in Final Fantasy. I saw what you did there. But this book shows unusual races and exotic places, and they all go to bed. And when they go to bed, the world changes to the world that's in the book. And Marche just found himself in a new place in his odd town. And he's like, what the hell? And he instantly insults a member from the Banger race by calling him a lizard, which in reality must be like a racist slur or something. But before he gets into much trouble, he's saved by a Moogle named Mont Blanc. Now, I need to say with Mont Blanc, he looks nothing like a Moogle. He looks absolutely nothing like a Moogle. I hate Mont Blanc. He is never in my squad. I drop him immediately just because of his design. Like, I'd let that Banger eat him. That's what I'd do. But Marche finds out that the world is a big game, really. And there's judges, and he's so confused about what's going on. But in reality, as the story progresses, he finds out his friend and his brother are in a great situation. His brother, Doned, is walking around. He's fine. He doesn't need a wheelchair anymore. Ritz has joined a clan, and her hair is pink all the time. It doesn't need to be dyeing anymore. But the most important people in the story are definitely Mute and his father, Sid. Sid is now the head of all the judges, so is no longer an alcoholic, whereas Mute is the prince and is looked after by his mother, but his mother in the real world had died, and Mute is the prince and rules everything and just goes to her for comfort all the time. But Marche realises we're not in a real world, we're in Mute's dream, where Mute controls what happens. So as the story progresses, Marche is trying to tell everyone, we need to go back home, this isn't our world. Whereas Mute, Doned, and Ritz are saying, no, we like this world's cool, we don't want to go back to the real world, this is a world where we can enjoy. And as Marche goes through, he starts to get through to everyone to accept what the situation is. They have to destroy the crystals, which is standard Final Fantasy thing, and every time a crystal is destroyed, eventually the world starts to fall apart. And it all ends up that even Sid has to remember, actually, yeah, I'm not from this world. And he realises something's up as well. He's one of the last people to actually realise what's going on. And during the story, Marche does confront Mute and says, we need to go. And he's like, no, my mum's not dead and I'm in charge. So he's kind of doing everything he can to stop Marche destroying his dream world. But as the story goes on, the characters start to learn to accept, actually, this isn't real. and we do need to go back to reality. Mute has to say goodbye to his mother, who is actually a big-ass demon. But once he's able to defeat the big-ass demon, they say goodbye to his mother for the last time. The story ends and everything returns back to normal. Ritz is now confidently going with her hair naturally, passing by Sid, who is approached by his old subordinate who runs his own company and wishes to offer a good position for him. Doned is now making friends and socialising like normal rather than just keeping to himself. And we see Marche and Mute who are able to stand up to the bullies alone, having learnt the strengths from the battles they faced in the adventure. Now I know that's just kind of a very, very basic summary, but that's what this all is, because the main thing I want to talk about in this whole retrospective is Marche the arsehole? On one side, you can say, yeah, he is the arsehole. He prevented Doned from walking, and Newt saying goodbye to his mother. Like, screw Ritz, I don't give a shit about your hair, I really don't. Although people are going to go, well, yeah, because it'll affect her mental health. This is a guy whose mother died and a guy from walking. There's other things we can worry about here. Now, let's look at Mute. If my mum and dad died, they're still both alive, but if they did pass, I do believe I'd be able to come to terms with that. However, if my wife or daughter passed away, I don't know how I'd feel. Like, thinking about a life without them is haunting. Like, I don't know how I'd imagine. Like, I was hugging my daughter yesterday. She's only 5. And reading a story to her and having a cuddle in bed before she goes to sleep. I don't know how I'd cope. I don't want to ever think about what that might ever happen. But I do know escapism isn't healthy. It isn't real. And you're just running away from your problems. And they're never going to be fixed if you do that. And sadly, that happens in the real world today. People use drugs, alcoholism, or depression to escape their problems, whilst the world burns around them. And it sadly affects both you and those around you. Like, look at Sid. He became a drunk. And because he wasn't there for his son had no support and was on his own most of the time. Marche had a family. He has a mum. Donut has a mum as well, the same mum. Ritz has a mother. What about them? Life sucks. Life hurts. We get beaten, but we can get through it. And through strength, and through love, and through the support with our friends and family. I'm not gonna lie though, living in that world would be bloody cool. Well, maybe. In this world, you fight and judges revive anyone. But there are 3 areas in the game called the Jagged, where there's no... Jagged? I don't even go back on myself. Is it Jagged? I'm saying Jagged. Someone's gonna come again. I don't care. But in these places, there are no judges, no laws, and no revives. So, if you don't heal your friends, they're dead. It's permadeath. Like, it's not all bad. Like, you can set where these places go on the map. Yeah, you build your own map. I never understood why this was the case at the time, but apparently if you do it in certain orders, you get special items. Fine, whatever. You could fight random clans as both you and they walk across the map, and it's a good way of getting experience in AP. Story missions can be obtained through talking to the barman at each city, and there are other missions that could be undertaken on the side. However, you have to send a party member off to do these, and this could last either so many days or so many battles. And succeeding gets you an item, which could be used as a usable, it could be equipment, or an item for another mission. But some of the missions need a particular item or class to do it. This mission can be failed, so you can't really just go and send weak units. And this is why you need a strong and diverse clan if you wanted to finish all 300 missions. And I've done them all. Yeah, I put a lot of hours into this game. And I actually do love this element of the game, and sending people away made me feel like I was an actual gang leader. Like, you, go there. Do this problem for me. Now, let's talk about some of the artwork. It's gorgeous. Like, from the logo to the character art, the artwork used for each unit, they are big, they are colourful, and they are beautiful. I have fell in love with this, and I actually like it more than Final Fantasy Tactics. Someone's going to argue with me. I don't care. The music is a huge hit. The opening song made me feel like this is something special. Like, as I said with the intro, this is a Game Boy Advance title. People say as well the battle tunes can get annoying. I've never found a problem with this. Like, listen to some of these tracks. But I'm not going to sit here and say that everything is nice and rosy. One of the main problems that they have is the equipment menu. Oh my god, it's painful. Weapons can't be organised nicely, and it's a bit of a trial and error. You can't group weapons together, which is horrendous. Like, just give me a sort option. I always think if they are going to make a remake of this game, which they won't, I want them to, but I know they're not, is that they sort out that equipment menu. Oh my god. Another aspect is secret characters. Like, yes, there are some characters you can get like Fritz and Sid, but none from other games. If you'd played the original Final Fantasy Tactics, you could get Cloud and Balthea, and even the main character in Final Fantasy Tactics Advance 2 in the War of the Lions remake. And talking about Final Fantasy Tactics Advance 2, you could get Van Pinello from Final Fantasy 12 and Mont Blanc from Final Fantasy Tactics Advance. It would have been great to be able to have access to some characters like Ramza from Final Fantasy Tactics. That would have been great. Now, the presentation. This is a bit of an interesting topic. See, the thing is, it's always bugged me. FFTA doesn't look anything like Final Fantasy Tactics. And a few years later, I found a game by chance called Tactics Ogre for the PSP. And this looked exactly like FFTA. I was like, oh my god, it's Mega FFTA? I know the smart ones here know where I'm going, but just hang on. As I said, I played Tactics Ogre and the sprites look the same, more so than Final Fantasy Tactics. Tactics Ogre is a huge game, and I recommend anyone play it going from the Super Nintendo all the way through its remakes up into the Nintendo Switch. But years later, I found that Tactics Ogre was part of a series called the Ogre Battle series. Stay with me here. This is a 5-part series. Ogre Battle, the Marche of the Black Queen on the Super Nintendo, Tactics Ogre, the Super Nintendo, then the Saturn, then the PS1, the PSP, Nintendo Switch, PS4, PS5, Xbox everything, Ogre Battle 64 on the N64, and Ogre Battle Gaiden, Prince of Zenobia on the Japan Mobile only. Then there was Tactics Ogre, the Knights of Lodus on the GBA. Hang on, there's a Tactics Ogre on the GBA. Holy shit, it looks exactly the same as FFTA. Well, it turns out that and Tactics Ogre were made by Quest until they were acquired by Square. And the first project they asked them to do was FFTA. And they already had the groundwork there. Add in the Final Fantasy Tactics lore, and boom, FFTA was born. How cool's that? I never realised that at all. Now, the reception. It received positive reviews. Fatsumu gave it 34, IGN gave it 9 because there wasn't enough water in this game, and Metacritic has it at 88%. Sadly, the game has never been re-released. The Nintendo Switch Online, it has to be included. Like, fans are desperate. Okay, I'm desperate. But with Square and Nintendo being friends, it kind of does make sense that it gets released. Do I see a remake? No. Sadly. It'd be great, but Tactics Ogre did get that treatment. There was a sequel in Final Fantasy Tactics Advance 2, and this was released on the DS, but it's only a sequel by name and has nothing to do with the first game. But personally, I still have this game. I still have the physical cartridge, and it means a lot to me. I played it multiple times, and I covered it for episode 50 of the podcast. The artwork and the music still hit me so well, and I miss my original Clan Wing. The hours I spent on it is only matched by Pokemon Diamond and Final Fantasy X, and I do believe that one day it's going to come on the Switch, and my journey into Saint Ivalice or Ivalice is going to start all over again, and everyone can enjoy the game that is escapism that we all escape to. But that is it. Thank you everyone who has watched this little retrospective of mine. I really hope you've enjoyed it, and if you have done, please give a like and a comment because it really helps us get on that algorithm. And if you want to see more content, please make sure you subscribe and hit the notification bell to be alerted when more content is coming. And if you want to hear me more often, as I said, there's a podcast where each week me and a friend will talk about the video games we used to play back when we were kids. A big shout out once more to Background Gaming. Thank you very much for the footage, guys. I couldn't have done it without you. And until then, I'll see you all next time. Take care of yourself. Bye-bye.